Chapter 41. You are listening at novelfull.audio. After packing everything up, Su-Jean took Sif's arm and asked the dark elf to drive the spaceship to the entrance of the secret passage. Shall I take you back? Su-Jean said with some reluctance. Sif shook her head and refused with a smile. No, I can just go back by myself. You send me back. What if the dark elf drives away in the spaceship? I'm going to miss you. Me too. Su-Jean hugged Sif and kissed her hard. After a long time, they separated and Sif turned around and entered the passage. After watching Sif's back disappear from his eyes, Su-Jean turned back and called the dark elf. While learning how to operate it, he asked him to repair the hatch of the spacecraft. After all, he seemed a little barbaric when he came in. It took 2 days for Su-Jean to master the spaceship. At this time, the time for the 9 stars to unite was almost over. Su-Jean's spaceship found a chaotic place in the space and drove directly in, but obviously, his luck was not that good. He did not appear directly on the Earth, and he did not know where in the 9 kingdoms he was. After the second time travel, I appeared on the Earth, but I don't know where exactly it is. I just saw a sea area below and a bridge connecting an island in the distance. Isn't this the Golden Gate Bridge? This scale made Su-Jean first think of the Golden Gate Bridge, but it seemed that the Golden Gate Bridge was still in good condition. It was unclear whether it had not been destroyed by Magneto or whether it had been rebuilt. At this time, cars were passing by on the Golden Gate Bridge, and a spaceship appeared out of thin air, which almost caused chaos. The first feeling was that I was worried that aliens had invaded again. After all, the previous Battle of New York was too sensational. Not only these people, but not long after the spacecraft appeared, S.H.I.E.L.D. had already monitored it. Nick Fury had a headache looking at the images from the satellite. What he was most worried about now were aliens. Inform the Avengers to see what's going on with this big guy. The spaceship floated steadily on the sea, and the air flow caused waves on the sea surface. The elevator descended rapidly from the top of the spacecraft, the hatch below slowly opened, and the automatic stairs were set up in distinct layers. Su-Jean walked out of the elevator and happened to see a Quinjet flying over in the distance. There was a person flying in front of it. It was Iron Man. I knew Iron Man would never completely destroy his suit and give up his identity as Iron Man. Seeing Iron Man flying over, Su-Jean pursed his lips and smiled. Why you? Iron Man flew in front of Su-Jean, showed his face, and asked Su-Jean in surprise. Why can't it be me? Su-Jean asked. Iron Man looked at Su-Jean and then at the spacecraft. Don't tell me this big guy is yours. It's so cool. This shouldn't be Earth's technology. Can you let me study it? Iron Man said with familiarity as he landed next to Su-Jean. Su-Jean rolled his eyes and said angrily, don't even think about it. This is my trophy. Do you want to study it? Okay, get it yourself. Oh my God, don't be so stingy. We are acquaintances after all, right? We are friends if we know each other. I know a lot of supermodels and the like. They will definitely like you very much. I can give you a grand party. You just let me study this big guy for a little while. Tony said pleadingly. Hey, if you want to reminisce, can you wait a moment and tell me what's going on? The fighter jet pulled aside and Captain America came out and shouted. This is just my trophy. It's not an alien invasion. Tell the director you can relax. Su-Jean said to Captain America. You'd better tell him in person. Captain America shrugged and still called. Su-Jean caught it, and Nick Fury's voice came from inside. Su-Jean, you are making more and more noise now. First you formed a team, and now you have even brought back the alien spaceship. I have no choice but to dare to board it. I went to the Kingdom of Darkness, stayed in Asgard for a while, and killed Maleski, the leader of the Dark Elves. This spaceship has the only remaining darkness. The elves are my trophies. Besides, it's impossible. Su-Jean said slowly. The amount of information was a bit overwhelming, and Nick Fury couldn't react for a while. What's impossible? Don't you want to study this spaceship? This is impossible. Okay. Nick Fury knew that Su Jian must have known what he wanted to say and refused to stop him before he could say it. This feeling was really depressing. Then what are you going to do with it? It's so big. Where are you going to put it? Don't worry about it, director. I will take care of it. After Su Jian finished speaking, he hung up the phone neatly. If there's nothing else, I'll leave first. We still have to find a place to put it. Su Jian said to Captain America and Iron Man, then turned back and watched the elevator rise, and then the spacecraft. The huge airflow almost blew the Quinjet away. This guy, Captain America shouted depressedly. Isn't this guy good? I find that I'm starting to like him a little bit. On the contrary, Tony liked Su Jian's behavior very much. After saying something, he flew away. Chapter 0053 Green Lantern. Enter stealth mode. After the spacecraft took off, Su Jian adjusted the spacecraft to a parallel state and then entered stealth mode. It's enough to have a popular comeback, but continuing to show off in the market may cause panic among ordinary people. Suspended the spacecraft in the air, Su Jian contacted Flickering. Not long after, Chenharan appeared on the spaceship with his skeleton in his hand. It has to be said that the flashing spacetime transmission ability is indeed very strong, and the ship's own defense system is very advanced, but the flashing portal did not trigger the explosion at all. This is a spaceship. After arriving on the spacecraft, the three of them were surprised. Well, the Dark Elf spaceship, that one over there is the Dark Elf, and it's the only one left. It can be collected as a specimen. Su Jian pointed at the Dark Elf casually and said. The three of them looked at the Dark Elf curiously. This was the first time they had seen aliens. Not to mention their curiosity, the Dark Elf was very depressed, but he was afraid of Su Jian and did not dare to object. This spaceship can be used as a temporary base in the future. You can find your own room later and clean up yourself. After Su Jian said this, he asked Shuang, how are the things I told you about? Flickering said, I found a few suitable places, but I think they are too ordinary, not to mention that if they develop in the future, they are still a bit small. If our funds allow, we might as well build an island, which is more convenient. These are the locations I inspected before. As he spoke, Shuang took out a document. Su Jian took it and looked at it. The description was very detailed: address, size, environment, etc. After taking a look, Su Jian found a familiar place, an abandoned factory of Stark Industries. The place was nice and spacious. The reason Su Jian knew about this place was because it would become the Avengers' new base in the future. If I tell Tony Stark, I can really get this place. However, Su Jian still rejected it, mainly because Huan's proposal made him feel good. Island. If you build an island yourself, the place will definitely be big enough, more convenient, and most importantly, it will be cool enough. Chapter 42. You are listening at NovelFull.audio. It could totally become an iconic location. Is there anything suitable about the island? Su Jian asked. Twinkle shook his head. Considering distance and convenience, there is nothing suitable nearby. But now that we have spaceships, it's okay to go a little more remote. There is an island near the west coast that is good, but a little small, and it can meet temporary needs, but if it develops, I'm afraid it won't be enough. It doesn't matter. If it's not enough by then, just move a few more islands nearby. Su Jian said casually. Move the island. He said it in an understatement, and the others were dumbfounded. It's up to you to handle this matter. Get the island on the west coast first. You don't need to come forward to do this. Just go to S.H.I.E.L.D. and say that I want to use it as a base. I believe Nick Fury will agree. It'll be fine. It's time to learn how to operate this spaceship from the Dark Elves. I will be away for a few days. Su Jian said with instructions. Yes. The three of them responded. Afterwards, the three of them happily visited the spacecraft and chose their own rooms. Su Jian, on the other hand, was ready to enter the dungeon. System, if the second dungeon plane is opened, are there any requirements for the entry time of these two dungeon planes? Su Jian asked the system. After the refresh time of the dungeon plane ends, the host can enter and open the dungeon plane, and the stay time in each plane is 3 days. The system replied, Su Zhan said, in other words, every 30 days, I can enter every open dungeon plane. Yes. Okay, then I will open the second dungeon plane first, the plane of Green Lantern. The second system plane Su Zhan chose was Green Lantern. Green Lantern is a superhero in DC Comics and a member of the Justice League. It tells the story of a group of Green Lantern Corps in the universe that maintains law and order in the universe. Each member has equipped with a magical ring, he can conjure various things or achieve any purpose at will. The protagonist Hal Jordan was originally a test pilot, and was later summoned by the Green Lantern's ring to become a Green Lantern, responsible for surrounding siege. Security on Earth and in the Milky Way. The reason why Su Zhan chose the Green Lantern plane was because of the Green Lantern ring. This thing is a good thing. It can be transformed into various things according to your own willpower and imagination. To put it simply, you can't do it unless you can't think of it. Of course, if it was just like this, maybe Su Zhan wouldn't enter this plane so quickly. After all, there are a lot of good things, and the green light ring is not very useful for him yet, and he is not that urgent, he is for the ether particles. Molesky is dead, and Su Zhan is not worried about being robbed of ether particles. As for Thanos, who doesn't know when he will appear yet, he can completely devour the ether particles slowly, but the speed of devouring them is too slow. If placed in the system space, he would have no way to swallow it. If you take it out, the ether particles will consume your own energy and affect your combat effectiveness. Therefore, he must find a container that can allow him to slowly devour it without affecting his combat effectiveness, and can even exert the power of ether particles. The green light ring is the most suitable container. Copy confirmed, Green Lantern. A sound came from the system, and Su Zhan disappeared directly from the spacecraft and entered the world of Green Lantern, Chapter 0054 Beauty in the Nightclub. Aha! Light flashed, and the environment in front of Su Zhan suddenly changed. Before he could see clearly where he was, the sound of loud music could be heard in his ears. The sound is deafening, and you can occasionally hear shouts and whistles. Looking around, you can see the dim environment, flashing lights, and scenes of men and women dancing to the music. It is obvious that this is a nightclub. Su Zhan didn't expect that the system would teleport him directly to the nightclub, but it seemed like no one noticed his sudden appearance. System, isn't there any camp choice this time? Evil Heart or something? Su Zhan asked curiously without receiving any prompts. The plane chosen by the camp is random and not available in every dungeon plane. The system answered simply. That's it. Su Zhi was a little disappointed, thinking that every new dimension had it. He only stayed in this dungeon for 3 days, and basically had no time to do anything else besides the green light ring. The system will not push itself too far into the plot, and the time point will not be too long. All Su Zhan has to do now is to figure out the environment and wait. His goal is the Green Lantern ring obtained by the male protagonist Hal Jordan. This ring belongs to a Green Lantern named Aubenher. He encountered the enemy by Lisha and was seriously injured. The spaceship crashed to the Earth. Because of the tradition of the Green Lantern ring, when the previous owner dies, the next one will be automatically selected, so Hal Jordan was chosen, and he became the new Green Lantern. So what Su Zhan has to do now is to determine whether Hal Jordan has received the green light ring. Su Zhan was about to leave the nightclub when he suddenly saw a person in the corner, long brown hair, delicate facial features, very charming. The moment he saw her, Su Zhan changed his mind and noticed that she was alone. Su Zhan walked over with a smile. Do you mind if I sit down? Su Zhan asked with a smile. Carol Felice looked up and was a little surprised that he was an Asian. There were not many Asians in Beach City, and they looked very handsome and had a very special temperament. She smiled and nodded. After Su Zhan sat down, he stretched out his hand and said, "My name is Su Zhan, Chinese. Carol Phyllis, China is great. I've always wanted to go, but I never had the chance. China's scenery and food are second to none in the world. It would be a pity not to experience it. Su-Jean said with a smile, waved to the bar and ordered a few bottles of beer. Do you mind drinking this? Certainly. Phyllis smiled and opened it, bumped into Su-Jean, and then said, Are you coming to Beach City for a trip? Yes, I have always heard that this place is very beautiful, especially the beauties here. Now it seems that it is indeed well deserved. Su-Jean said with a smile. It's just that I'm curious. A beautiful woman like you should have many suitors around her. Why do you come to the nightclub alone? Maybe they don't have the same vision as you. Phyllis said jokingly. Oh my God, then I can only say that they are all blind. Su-Jean said exaggeratedly, making Phyllis giggle. The first feeling was good, Su-Jean was very funny, and the time passed unknowingly while drinking and chatting. I didn't expect it to be so late. I have to leave. Phyllis suddenly realized that it was almost early in the morning, and was a little surprised. She didn't expect to chat for so long. She felt like it was just a while. That's such a pity. Su-Jean said regretfully. This is my phone number. If you have time, you can call me. I will be your tour guide. Phyllis wrote down her number and handed it to Su-Jean. Su-Jean saved it on the phone and called back directly. Let's go out together, I'm ready to leave too, Su-Jean said with a smile, and the two walked out of the nightclub together. Where do you live? I can drop you off. Phyllis said. Are you okay? You seem to have drank a lot just now. Su-Jean asked worriedly. If you're scared, I'll leave first, Phyllis said with a smile, and then walked towards the car next to her. Su-Jean pursed his lips and smiled, then followed. Chapter 43. You are listening at NovelFull.audio. After getting into Felice's car, Su-Jean said with a smile, I just arrived here today and haven't booked a hotel yet. Since you want to be my tour guide, why don't you help me find a hotel first? You haven't booked a hotel, and you don't have any luggage. Your way of traveling is really special. Isn't it easier this way? Su-Jean said with a smile. Phyllis started the car and drove directly to a nearby hotel. On the way, the two chatted casually, and the atmosphere was very relaxed. Not long after, when they arrived at the hotel, Phyllis stopped the car and said, This hotel is not bad. Thank you for the recommendation. Do you want to come up and have a cup of coffee? Su-Jean asked with a smile. Phyllis smiled and flipped her hair. Invite me to drink coffee without even opening the room? Don't you think this pace is a bit fast? Although I have a good feeling for you, but I haven't reached that point yet. I don't want to give it to someone for the first time casually. Traveler. Oh, this really surprises me. So, see you later. Su-Jean didn't feel embarrassed. After saying goodbye with a smile, he turned around and got out of the car and entered the hotel. After booking a room, Su-Jean used the computer in the hotel to go online to investigate the news. I have to say that the internet is indeed a good thing. He quickly found out about Hal Jordan. He seemed to have just been suspended. Chapter 0055 The unexpected choice of the light ring. Su-Jean turned off the computer and prepared to take a good rest. Whether he was in the fairy palace before or on the spaceship later, although they were both good, they were far less comfortable than sleeping on Simmons. Daily Planet. Just as Su-Jean was about to lie down, he found the newspaper lying aside and picked it up out of curiosity. There is nothing special about Daily Planet, but there is a reporter from Daily Planet who is very special. Clark Kent. If you are not familiar with this name, he has another name that is definitely a household name, that's Superman. This superhero from Krypton, the giant of the Justice League, probably no one has heard of his name. After seeing Planet Daily, Su-Jean suddenly had an idea. The previous supernatural plane was just that. After all, there were no other related planes. But the dimension of Green Lantern is different. Green Lantern itself is one of the founders of the Justice League. Green Lantern, Superman, Batman, Wonder Woman, The Flash, Aquaman, Mars Stalker, Cyborg, the main members of the Justice League. System. If I erase this plane and open a new plane, a plane with the same worldview, such as the plane of the Flash, will that plane inherit the development of the Green Lantern plane? Su Zhan asked curiously. In a worldview plane, everything that happens is inherited. In other words, if I get the Green Lantern ring, there will be no Green Lantern in this plane. If I enter a plane with the same worldview as Superman or the Flash in the future, there will be no Green Lantern anymore, right? Yes, this answer made Su Zhan very happy. What did it mean? This means that he does not have to keep many copy planes at the same time, he only needs to keep one worldview plane. You can completely leave the dungeon after getting the green light ring, erase the dungeon, and then open the dungeon planes of the Flash, Superman, and even Green Arrow, and they will still be related to each other. The plot begins and the mission is released. Main mission, obtain the green light ring. Side mission 1, Hero saves Beauty. Save Carol Felice and win her heart. Side mission 2, Green Lantern reveals his name. Let the world know the existence of Green Lantern. Su Zhan suddenly received a task released by the system. He was stunned for a moment and said, "Why isn't this mission released as soon as it comes in? Could it be that it won't be released until the plot begins? And why is there a side mission this time?" Yes, because the system level has been improved, side tasks have been added. This is good. At least you can get more energy to upgrade. However, branch 2 is just that. What the hell is branch 1? Do you need to be a hero to save a beauty and gain peace of mind? Picking up girls is a mission. Although Su Zhan did have a good impression of Phyllis and knew that she was the heroine of the Green Lantern plane, so he took the initiative to strike up a conversation. It would be great if something could happen. After all, she is very beautiful. But I never expected that it would be posted as a task. What is this? Kill 2 birds with 1 stone. Shaking his head, Su Zhan was just about to figure out how to complete the task when he suddenly saw a bright light flash outside the window, as if something had fallen, Abenher's ship. No wonder the system will suddenly release a task, and the plot will officially begin now. Opening the window, Su Zhan's body suddenly turned into flames and flew directly towards the place where the spacecraft landed. In the dark night, the fire flashed by, and a moment later, Su Zhan landed, the flames on his body disappeared, and he looked at the transparent spacecraft that fell not far away. An alien with purple skin, a bald head, and a Green Lantern suit is sitting in the spaceship. He looks dying. He has a Green Lantern ring on his finger. He is none other than Green Lantern Abenher. It won't be long before the green light ring will automatically find the next person who meets its conditions, which is Hal Jordan. Su Zhan walked over quickly, took Abenher out of the spacecraft and placed it on the ground. The dying Abenher looked at Su Zhan, as if he wanted to speak. At this time, the green light ring suddenly glowed, and a ball of green light enveloped Su Zhan. Su Zhan was shocked, thinking that Abenher was going to attack him, but he soon discovered that the green energy was very stable and did not seem to be malicious. Could it be? Su Zhan was a little surprised. Hal Jordan was brought here directly by this Green Lantern energy and was selected to become the next Green Lantern. Now, this ball of energy appears in his body. Could it be that, the green light ring has chosen him? He remembers that the basic requirement to become a Green Lantern is to be fearless. To be honest, he is very consistent with this. Although he knows that there will be many strong enemies in the future, and maybe he is not an opponent yet, but he is confident that in time, he will become stronger. Because he firmly believes in this, he has never been afraid. "May I have your name?" Bingsu looked at Su Zhan and asked. "Su Zhan, my name is Su Zhan." "Su Zhan, I am Bingsu, the guardian of Sector 2814. Bingsu said, raised his hand and opened his palm. Inside was a green light ring. "This ring has chosen you, take it. Put the ring in the green light, put it on, and say the oath." Bingsu looked at the green light on the spaceship, grabbed Su Zhan's hand and held the ring. After giving it to him, his head tilted slightly and he lost his breath. Looking at the green light ring in his hand, Su Zhan was still in a daze. He was originally thinking about how to get the green light ring from Hal Jordan. Unexpectedly, things were completely different from what he thought. From the beginning, he chose the green light ring. I'm sorry, Hal Jordan. The Green Lantern has nothing to do with you, but it's okay this way. If you don't get it, you won't suffer from the loss. Su-Jean tightened the Green Lantern ring tightly and flicked his finger towards the green light in the spaceship. The green light flew over and landed next to Su-Jean. Chapter 0056 Fusion, Ether Lantern Ring. Looking at Aben-Hur's body, Su-Jean sighed and released his telekinesis. Aben-Hur's wound gradually expanded and tore, and then a crystal of yellow light slowly floated out. This thing is not ordinary, it belongs to Bai-Lai-Sha. As long as you hold it, it will be affected. It will gradually become affected by it. Change is not a good thing. And it is this thing that attracts Bai-Lai-Sha to come to the earth, swallow fear, and gain energy. It is the same as the yellow lantern in the 7-color lantern group. System, does this thing have any use? If not, I will destroy it. The stay time is limited, and Su-Jean doesn't want to wait until he leaves and Bai-Lai-Sha descends on the earth. Who will deal with him when he is gone? He. So the best way is to destroy this thing. Bai-Lai-Sha will not come to the earth, and naturally there will be no danger. You can devour it, gain its abilities, and generate additional energy. The system replied. The ability to swallow it? Is it fear? No, the ability to absorb fear. Su-Jean thought about it and found it very feasible. The power of fear is quite terrifying. As long as someone feels fear, he can gain powerful power. This is simply a steady stream of energy. However, it may not be that easy to devour its ability, and it definitely cannot be accomplished overnight. Then put it in the system space first. Chapter 44. You are listening at NovelFull.audio. Anyway, Bai-Lai-Sha couldn't feel it in the system space. By the way, take Aben-Hur's body in as well. Putting aside Aben-Hur's identity as a Green Lantern of the Green Lantern Corps, he is also an alien. If you have the opportunity to study it in the future, you may gain something. Speaking of which, there are so many good things in my system space now. Gravity particles, ether particles, icebox, plus this yellow crystal. Either one is a good thing, but he can't use any of them now. He can only stare. The only thing that can be used is the Immortal Palace armor. It is incomparable with the others and is not on the same level at all. The sound of the helicopter gradually came, and Su-Jean took the green light and green light ring and flew away directly from the flames. Back at the hotel, Su-Jean looked at the green lantern and the light ring. There should not be much energy in the light ring now. Once activated, he would fly out of the earth and fly to the headquarters of the Green Lantern Corps, Star OA, and go through a similar activation process. Obtained the green light suit. Su-Jean had no idea about the Green Lantern suit. Although it had a certain effect, it didn't look good to him. What's more, he himself was not weak in defense or recovery power, so there was no need to use the Green Lantern suit. What's more, his purpose in taking the lantern ring is to make it a container for ether particles, not to become a Green Lantern. System, release the ether particles. Su-Jean said something, and in an instant, ether particles appeared out of thin air in front of Su-Jean's eyes, and black fluid spread. The moment after they came out, they rushed directly towards Su-Jean. In an instant, the particles poured in Su-Jean's body. As soon as he entered, Su-Jean felt it absorbing his energy. Come on, let's try and see if my guess works. Su-Jean gave a soft drink and controlled the ether particles towards the light ring on his finger. At first, the ether particles were still obedient, but after getting close to the light ring, they began to resist with all their strength. No matter how much Su-Jean urged and controlled, they would not get close. The ether particle is one of the Infinity Stones. Apart from the Infinity Stones, there is basically nothing it is afraid of, but the Green Lantern ring makes it unwilling to get close. This discovery made Su-Jean ecstatic. The reaction of the ether particles had proved that his conjecture was very likely to come true. He tried his best, constantly urging and controlling the ether particles to approach the green light ring, and even added telekinesis. Finally, the ether particles slowly began to move towards the green light ring, although the speed was very slow. Beads of sweat appeared on Su-Jean's forehead, and his face began to turn pale. The constant stimulation of his mind power made him feel extremely painful. His head felt like it was going to explode. He gritted his teeth and refused to give up. Once he gives up, the ether particles will immediately retreat, and may even absorb his own energy while he is empty and exhausted, which can easily lead to danger. "Let me in!" The veins on Su-Jean's body popped up, and he shouted with a ferocious look. At that moment, all his mental power seemed to come out, and the ether particles seemed to be kicked hard, directly into the green light ring. Although it was only a small part, the green light ring suddenly glowed brightly at this time, as if it produced a suction force. Although the ether particles tried to escape, they failed. With Su-Jean's help, they were completely sucked into it. Immediately afterwards, the green light ring suddenly emitted a dazzling light, filling the whole room with light, and Su-Jean fainted immediately. He didn't know how long he had been unconscious, but Su-Jean slowly woke up. He endured the pain of a splitting headache and looked at the green light ring on his hand. At this time, the ring had changed its appearance. The original green light turned into dark green, the color was very dark, and the light-shaped logo in the middle also changed somewhat, as if it was wrapped with a layer of black flowing particles, which was extremely special. Shouldn't it be called a green light ring now? An etheric light ring. Looking at the ring, Su-Jean murmured to himself, Chapter 0057 Side Mission. Try it and see how it works. Su-Jean gave a soft drink and then stared at the empty space in the hall. In an instant, a ball of dark green energy appeared and changed rapidly. After a moment it turned into a shield, similar to Captain America's shield, and then changed again, into a stick, a pistol, a submachine gun, a cannon, and then it turned into a shield. Cars, airplanes, etc. At first, the changes were very fast, and he could only change some relatively small ones, but as Su-Jean adapted and mastered it, he could change various things as he pleased. The most important thing was that Su-Jean could feel that this had already happened. Not only is the energy of the green light, but also the power of the ether particles, and the ether particles do not absorb their own energy. Done. The original ability of the green light ring is still there, but with the addition of ether particles, its power has become stronger. The most important thing is that I finally don't have to worry about the influence of ether particles on myself. He tried it and found that he could still swallow the energy of ether particles, and because the green light ring contained it, his swallowing efficiency increased a lot. The energy of the green light was continuously used, but the energy did not seem to weaken much. It seemed that the green light also absorbed the energy of the ether particles, but Su-Jean felt that the energy of the ether particles themselves did not decrease. This meant that the charged green light was temporarily useless. Yes, the green light ring may need it to charge, but the etheric light ring does not. Su-Jean remembered that a very important ability of the green light ring is to construct a mental mask, a kind of mental protection that can block telepathy and mental control. This can be regarded as solving one of his hidden dangers. At least he no longer has to worry about this threat. What a wonderful day. Looking at the stars outside and the beautiful night, Su-Jean couldn't help but sigh. Su-Jean had a good sleep, and when he woke up the next day, it was already 3 o'clock in the morning, and the warm sunshine brought in the warmth. I brushed my teeth, washed up, and had breakfast at the hotel. Su-Jean began to think about side tasks. The hero saves the beauty, and the green light shows his fame. The hero's rescue of the beauty was originally easy to handle, because Aben-Hur's body was obtained by the Special Department for Research. As a result, the scientist was infected by the remaining crystals of Baleatia, and then wreaked havoc at the reception. Phyllis was in danger, and herself I can take the opportunity to save her, and even complete the green light to reveal my name. But now that the corpse and the crystal are in their own space, these two tasks have to be completed in another way. Su-Jean thought for a while, took out the phone and said, "Hi, Phyllis, do you remember me? I'm Su-Jean, do you have time to go shopping together?" "Okay, then I'll wait for you downstairs in the hotel." After putting down the phone, Su-Jean turned around and went downstairs. After a while, Phyllis drove up. She was wearing a tight black dress and her face was lightly made up. Su-Jean got into the car and said with admiration, "You are so beautiful." "Thank you." Phyllis was very happy when she heard the compliment. Her outfit was carefully chosen and dressed. "Where do you want to go?" Phyllis asked. Su-Jean shook his head. "I don't know, I'll follow your arrangements today." "Okay, then I'll take you around." Phyllis smiled and took Su-Jean around the landmark buildings and beautiful parks of the seaside city. While strolling and chatting, the atmosphere is getting better and better. Sitting on a bench in the park, Su-Jean inadvertently stretched out his hand, and then slowly put it on Phyllis's shoulder. Phyllis looked down at his hands, then turned to look at Su-Jean and said with a smile, "Isn't this method too old-fashioned?" "It doesn't matter if it's old-fashioned or not, what's important is that it's useful. At least you didn't refuse or throw away my hand, right?" Su-Jean said with a smile. Phyllis smiled and said, "Actually, if I told you that I have never been in love, would you believe it? When I was young, my father trained me as the successor of the company, and I was also a test pilot. My life is basically spent in the company, at home, and on the plane." Originally, the company was researching a fighter jet, which was very likely to get an order from the Ministry of Defense, but it might have failed for some reason, and I was depressed. I went to a nightclub to drink, and unexpectedly I met you. To be honest, I doubted whether this was God's arrangement. Maybe God was telling me that it's time for me to fall in love. Maybe, yes. Su-Jean responded with a smile, and then used a slight force to let Phyllis lean on his shoulders. Phyllis didn't resist, but slowly leaned over nervously. "This feels quite amazing." Feeling Su-Jean's broad shoulders and his strong arms, Phyllis smiled softly. "Maybe. I should really consider this seriously. Su-Jean, are you serious about me?" "Certainly," Su-Jean said without hesitation. For Phyllis, it seems that she is not familiar with Su-Jean, but for Su-Jean, he knows Phyllis very well, and it can even be said that he knows many people. Phyllis seems to have a strong character, but after all, she was trained as a successor to the company. She is also a pilot, and she is also very independent. But in fact, she is just a little woman deep down, a little woman who will encourage you when you fail and be happy for you when you succeed. From the moment he came to the Marvel world, Su-Jean never thought that he would only have one woman, especially after starting the dungeon mission. There are many outstanding and attractive women who attract Su-Jean. For him, it would be a pity to give up any of them. Chapter 45. You are listening at NovelFull.audio. Although I can't promise that I will always be by your side, I promise that I will take care of other things as soon as possible and spend more time with you. Phyllis responded softly. Su-Jean lowered his head slightly, and Phyllis felt something in her heart. She slowly raised her head and closed her eyes, romantic, tingling. It's hard to describe what it feels like. For Phyllis, this is her first experience, and it makes her understand that it is such a wonderful feeling. Boom! Just when they were immersed and romantic, a loud noise suddenly came, waking up Phyllis and Su-Jean. Phyllis looked around in panic, and soon discovered that something seemed to have happened on the streets near the park. "It seems there was a car accident, let's go over and take a look," Phyllis said to Su-Jean, and then ran over. Su-Jean didn't expect Phyllis to be so proactive, so he hurriedly followed her. When Su-Jean chased after her, he found that Phyllis had been kidnapped. The group was armed with guns and was confronting the police opposite. Obviously, although there was a car accident here, the main reason was not the car accident. "Is this so I can complete my mission?" Su-Jean couldn't help but be dumbfounded. He was not worried that something would happen to Phyllis. He was absolutely confident in this. Chapter 0058 Wonderful Experience on the Moon. Phyllis suddenly appeared and was kidnapped by these gangsters, which caught the policemen off guard. Now that they saw Su-Jean suddenly appeared, they wanted to remind him to leave quickly. However, the firepower of these gangsters was too strong, and the policemen who suppressed them were not able to do anything at all. If he dared to show his head, he could only shout to remind Su-Jean. "Run, get out of here." Phyllis was not too panicked when she was suddenly kidnapped. When she saw Su-Jean chasing after her, she didn't forget to remind Su-Jean. However, the gangsters also discovered Su-Jean, and one of them pointed his gun directly at him. "Come here, or I'll shoot you to death." "Phyllis, don't be afraid, I will save you." Su-Jean smiled at Felice, comforted her, and then walked over slowly. As soon as he got close, the gangster was ready to hold him hostage. Then as soon as he stretched out his hand, a dark green light suddenly appeared on Su-Jean's body, enveloping Su-Jean like a halo, followed closely. Felice's body also the same light appeared, and directly sent the gangster who kidnapped her flying out of the ground. The sudden change shocked everyone. Looking at the frightened gangster, Su-Jean said calmly, "You just said you wanted to shoot me to death." "I'm sorry. I'm afraid you don't have the ability." As soon as the words fell, a huge dark green fist suddenly appeared and directly hit me. The gangster hit the ground and flew out. At this time, the other gangsters reacted and opened fire crazily at Su-Jean. Ta-da-da-da-da-da. The bullets hit the energy shield and spread out one after another. Su-Jean waved his hand towards him. In an instant, countless green daggers appeared and stabbed all the gangsters with incomparable accuracy. "Ah, ah!" Screams came, and the gangsters fell to the ground. Su-Jean walked up to Felice and asked softly, "Are you okay?" Who are you?" Phyllis asked subconsciously. Su-Jean looked at the gangsters on the ground, then at the shocked policeman, and said with a smile, "Of course I am still the same me you know, but I have the ability of Green Lantern, so, to a certain extent, he might as well be a Green Lantern." "Green Lantern? I'll tell you this slowly later. Now, it's better to leave here first." Su-Jean smiled and took Felice's waist, and then flew up with her in his arms. The dark green light was dazzling, and in the blink of an eye, the two of them had flown away. "Hey, did you hear that? He said his name was Green Lantern. Of course, we're not deaf, so we didn't expect to be able to see the superhero Green Lantern with our own eyes. It's so cool." People nearby were talking about it. It didn't take long before Green Lantern showed up and the news of subduing the gangsters had spread throughout the streets, and there was even more discussion on the internet. "System, my mission should be considered completed, right? Side missions, heroes saving beauty and green light to show fame." Su-Jean secretly asked the system. "Yes. That's good, although it is not perfect, and the style is not very high, it is just dealing with ordinary gangsters rather than a world-destroying crisis, but it is enough for Su-Jean, as long as people know that Green Lantern exists. Anyway, I don't plan to be a Green Lantern, it's just for the mission." Su-Jean carried Felice and flew to a remote beach and landed. Phyllis still looked a little shocked. "Don't be afraid, I'm still me, and I'm not an alien. It's just that I have some special abilities, and the abilities just now are because of the ring on my hand." Su-Jean said softly, and put the Green Lantern ring into Green Lantern's hands. The origins were told to Phyllis. On the one hand, it was to appease Phyllis, but on the other hand, even if I didn't say it, people would know about it in the future, so I might as well tell her. "I'm not scared, I'm just a little surprised. I didn't expect you to be a superhero. My first boyfriend turned out to be a superhero. This is really great," Phyllis said excitedly. "There's something even better." Su-Jean smiled and said, "Do you want to experience what it's like in space?" "Space? You mean?" Phyllis looked at Su-Jean excitedly. Before she could finish speaking, Su-Jean had already released an energy shield, covering herself and Phyllis in it, and then soared into the sky. After passing through the atmosphere, she soon arrived in the boundless universe. Phyllis looked at the blue planet and the vast universe around her in disbelief, then she hugged Su-Jean's waist and kissed her hard. There is a legend about the moon in China. There is a fairy named China who lives in the Guanhan Palace on the moon. Although I know that this is just a legend. There is no Guanhan Palace or China on the moon, but, there is fairy, this fairy is called Phyllis. Su-Jean said with a smile and flew directly towards the moon. Su-Jean used energy to construct a large bed, and the two slowly lay down, surrounded by a dark green energy aura. "Gorgeous," Su-Jean couldn't help but sigh. Phyllis nodded repeatedly. Yes, it's so beautiful. I never thought that one day I would be on the moon. No, I mean you're so beautiful. Su-Jean lowered his head and kissed her. After a long time, the two separated, and Phyllis said confusedly, this is the first time I have had such a wonderful experience. Don't you want to make this experience more wonderful and unforgettable? I may leave tomorrow, and it will take at least a month to come back, so. Su-Jean did not continue, but Phyllis understood. Shyly she avoided his eyes, but did not refuse or resist. Click, click, click. Su-Jean's gentle movements removed Felice's clothes bit by bit. Looking at the nervous Felice, Su-Jean kissed her gently, and then, leaned over, leaving Felice with an unparalleled and wonderful experience. Chapter 46. You are listening at NovelFull.audio. Chapter 0059. Progress is going well. Su-Jean flew back from the moon with the tired Phyllis in his arms. At this time, night had fallen on the earth. When no one was paying attention, he flew into his hotel room through the window and landed slowly. My dear, let me down. Phyllis said softly. Su-Jean slowly put her down. As soon as she landed, Phyllis groaned and almost fell down. Su-Jean hurriedly supported her, looked at her frown, and said softly, Idiot, I'd better hold her. Take a break. Then it's not all your fault. This is my first time, but you are as savage as a cow. Phyllis said angrily with a red face. Su-Jean chuckled. It's not my fault, right? If it's your fault, it's because you're too charming. What can I do? That wonderful feeling. Su-Jean couldn't stop even if he wanted to. But now he is really apologetic. After all, Phyllis is not Sif, and she does not have as strong a body as Sif. So even though it was her first experience, Phyllis was far less able to bear it than Sif could. He hugged Phyllis and lay down to rest, hugging her shoulders. The smooth touch made him very addicted. The itchy Phyllis hugged Su-Jean's neck, squinting her eyes and couldn't help shaking slightly. Although the night was beautiful, the woman in front of me was even more beautiful. Originally, Su-Jean planned to go to Central City or Metropolis to see if he could find the Flash or Superman, or at worst, go to Star City to find Green Arrow, but Phyllis made him reluctant to leave at all. What's more, I just experienced an unparalleled and unforgettable moment on the moon, and it would be a bit inappropriate to leave without being warm for a long time. Although Su-Jean still has to leave tomorrow, at least tonight, he can spend an unforgettable night. He restrained his impulse. After all, there was a long way to go, but Phyllis was more proactive than he thought. Su-Jean could feel her greed, not for that kind of thing, but for being with him. The sun rose slowly, and Su-Jean and Felice woke up from the sunny morning. When are you leaving? Covered with a quilt, Phyllis turned sideways and asked Su-Jean. I'll have a meal with you first, and then I'll leave. I have to go back to deal with some things, and it will take a month at least before I can come back. Su-Jean said softly. I'll wait for you. Phyllis nodded and said, next time you come back, will you stop leaving? Well, I will settle here. During this period, you can help me keep an eye on whether there is a suitable house. Su-Jean said. Good. Hearing Su-Jean say this, Phyllis instantly became happy. They want to buy a house and settle here, which solves the problem of dividing the two places. Moreover, he originally came to travel, but now he suddenly decided to settle down. This is not a small matter, and it is enough to show that he is serious about himself. The two of them stayed in the room making love for a long time, and then had dinner together in the hotel restaurant. Finally, Phyllis reluctantly left, and when she left, she kept asking Su-Jean to come back soon. After seeing Felice off, Su-Jean's departure time hadn't come yet, so he returned to the room and checked the news online. There were already reports on Green Lantern, and Su-Jean didn't even look at it. He was looking at things about other superheroes. Superman's existence isn't that well known yet, there hasn't been an explosion in Central City, and the Flash hasn't even been born yet. As for Green Arrow, Oliver Queen is still in a state of death, or in other words, he has not yet returned from Purgatory Island and become Green Arrow. After seeing these news and analyzing them myself, I have roughly researched the timeline. He actually thought about not erasing Green Lantern's plane. Anyway, these planes are the same, and one DC plane is enough. But after thinking about it later, he still felt that he had to open a new plane, because only by opening a new plane can there be tasks, and only when there are tasks can the system be upgraded. As long as opening a new plane does not affect Phyllis, it is naturally better to open a new plane. If it really has an impact and cannot be opened, wait until the system is upgraded to allow 3 planes to exist at the same time, and then reopen the Green Lantern plane. System, can I leave early and go to the supernatural plane? But there was nothing left to deal with here, so Su-Jean simply left early. The scenery in front of him changed, and Su-Jean found that he had appeared directly from the Green Lantern's plane to the supernatural plane. Arriving at the base, Su-Jean went directly to Kira. Master, you are back. Kira looked at Su-Jean and said excitedly. Su-Jean nodded. Well, I'll come back and see how it goes during this period. The potion is still under development, and there is no considerable progress for the time being. 8 new superpowers have been trained, and there are currently nearly $800 million in the account. As for the master you are looking for, there is already news. I have already sent someone to look for it. Kira replied obediently. Bring the 3 worst performing superpowers here. I want to devour their abilities. What the organization wants is elites. If they can't do something, then just be ordinary people. In addition, withdraw all the money or exchange it for gold bars. Su-Jean said one after another. Yes, Kira responded and quickly went out to give orders. Su-Jean stayed in the room to rest. To be honest, the role of this plane for Su-Jean was like a cash machine to extract energy and money. Not long after, 3 superpowers came in. Su-Jean didn't bother to do anything, just devoured their abilities, then changed their memories and let them go back to live a normal life. The money was not ready so quickly, and Su-Jean was not in a hurry. Regarding Li Xiaolu, since the whereabouts of Li Xiaolu were known, Su-Jean did not plan to come forward in person. After all, if you show up on your own, you will still be embarrassed when you see him. Let's talk about it after he is brought back. After eating something under Kira's service, the day almost passed like this. The flow of time in the 2 planes is the same. He left the Green Lantern's plane and came here almost in the afternoon. He had devouring abilities and was eating, and it was almost night before he knew it. Su-Jean was going to take a bath and have a good sleep. It turned out that Kira was still in the room and had not left. Chapter 0060, West Coast Island. You can go and rest. Su-Jean said towards Kira. Kira lowered his head and said hesitantly, Shall I stay and serve the master? Do you want to help me take a bath or warm my bed? Su-Jean said with a dumb smile. It is true that Kira is still good. After his transformation, he only made her loyal to him. For the rest, she is still her. But now it seems that the impact is quite big, not only loyalty, but now he has put himself in the position of a slave. Not long after leaving Felice, Su-Jean had no idea whether it was psychologically or physically, even though Kira had already acted like he was willing to take whatever he asked for and took the initiative to sleep with her. Su-Jean admits that he is very romantic, but at least he is not a lower body animal who only thinks about that kind of thing. Go ahead, I will call you when necessary. You are mine, and sooner or later I will eat you, so you can't run away. Su-Jean said with a smile. Kira Hong he responded with a face, turned around and left shyly. After taking a bath, Su-Jean had a comfortable sleep. When I got up the next day, I walked around the base and learned about it. By the afternoon, Kira had already prepared all the money. There is cash and gold bars, worth 800 million. This money is enough for him to purchase the island and the preliminary design. I hope she will be here waiting for me next time I come. Li Xiaolu didn't bring it back, so Su-Jean told Kira and left the copy of the superpower. After coming out of the dungeon, Su-Jean appeared directly in the spaceship. Only the Dark Elf and Shinharan were on the spaceship. Chapter 47. You are listening at NovelFull.audio. Where's Twinkle and Skeleton? Su-Jean asked casually. They are in S.H.I.E.L.D. Shinharan briefly explained what happened in the past few days. Nick Fury, director of S.H.I.E.L.D., naturally had no objection to Flicker's proposal to buy an island on the West Coast. He didn't even need to pay a penny. He was able to make the decision to give the island to Su-Jean, but he made a small request, that is, he hoped to study the spaceship. However, he was very smart and did not mention S.H.I.E.L.D., but wanted Tony to study it. Firstly, S.H.I.E.L.D.'s technology in this area is not necessarily better than Tony Stark's. Secondly, Tony, also known as Iron Man, is a member of the Avengers. The Avengers have a close relationship with S.H.I.E.L.D. Let Tony come forward. Not only can we obtain the data and technology of this spacecraft, but we can also reduce certain misunderstandings. It's just a cover-up. Su-Jean curled his lips after hearing this. Tell Flicker that if Nick Fury doesn't agree, we will buy it ourselves without going through him. If you want to study my spaceship, there is no way. Yes, Chin-Haran responded, and the contact quickly flashed. At this time, Flicker was arguing with Nick Fury, and suddenly heard the news from Chin-Haran. Flicker stood up quickly and said, "Sorry, our boss said, we will solve this matter ourselves, so we won't trouble S.H.I.E.L.D." Then, he blinked and opened the portal to leave. Nick Fury was a little surprised by Flicker's sudden move. He could tell that there was probably no possibility of negotiation. Although he hated Su-Jean for being stingy, he didn't want to affect the relationship between Su-Jean and S.H.I.E.L.D. because of this trivial matter. Etc. Nick Fury called to stop Flicker and said, "Okay, I will help with the island matter and will handle it as soon as possible. Help me bring a message to Su-Jean. This time he owes me a favor. If S.H.I.E.L.D. needs him in the future he can't refuse help. I'll take the message for you," Twinkle said before leaving through the portal. Flash came back and told Su-Jean what Nick Fury said. Su-Jean couldn't help but curl his lips. Nick Fury is really a good old fox. He couldn't immediately change his strategy when he saw what happened to the spaceship and let himself owe a favor. You know, favors are more valuable than money. But forget it, with him coming forward, I can reduce a lot of trouble. What's more, now he still needs to leave a good impression on S.H.I.E.L.D., he is also planning to wait until Hydra takes over S.H.I.E.L.D. and S.H.I.E.L.D. collapses to poach people. Having a good reputation is naturally much more convenient. Take me to that island to see. Su-Jean gave the order, and the Dark Elf controlled the spacecraft to the island on the west coast. Needless to say, this island is indeed quite large and undeveloped. The only drawback is that it is relatively remote. But for the base, this shortcoming has turned into an advantage, not to mention the convenience of a spaceship. At first, Su-Jean planned to move the island closer to the city if that didn't work, but now Su-Jean thinks this is it. Let the spaceship park here. There are about $800 million here, which should be enough to build and develop this island. You can deal with this matter during this period. Chin-Haran, you come with me. Su-Jean took the money and gold bars when they came out. They were still piled up like a mountain on the ground. In the sunlight, the gold bars sparkled even more. The three of them were stunned to see the glitter, especially curious. Where did Su-Jean put these things before? How come it was taken out of thin air? But out of curiosity, no one asked. "Boss, where are you going? Do you need me to take you there?" Huan asked. Su-Jean shook his head and slowly raised his hand. The ether ring instantly emitted energy and enveloped Chin-Haran. Su-Jean slowly flew up, followed by Chin-Haran, and the two of them turned into a ball of dark green light. Disappeared into the air instantly. Chapter 0061 Ether War Service. Crack. Su-Jean slowly landed and put Chin-Haran down. As soon as he landed, Chin-Haran almost collapsed and knelt on the ground. Seeing Chin-Haran's embarrassed look, Su-Jean shook his head and smiled, looking not far ahead. It was a secret laboratory, specially used to study the centipede virus, a variant of the extremis virus. Where is this? After Chin-Haran felt better, he looked forward curiously. This is a place where you can become stronger. Su-Jean looked at Chin-Haran. The ether particles in the ether ring suddenly flowed out, spread quickly from the palm of his hand, and covered his whole body in a moment. He was wearing a tight-fitting black flowing battle suit, the black cloak on his shoulders swayed in the wind, and a huge figure appeared on his back. The word war is both eye-catching and domineering. So cool. Shinharan looked at the sudden appearance of the combat uniform on Su Zhan and couldn't help but sigh. Go back and make a few sets of uniforms according to the style that can be used as unified battle uniforms for the Alliance. Su Zhan himself was also very satisfied. This was made of ether particles into battle uniforms. Because of the lamp ring, there was no need to worry about the ether particles absorbing his energy, and it still works, whether it is defense or attack. It is very powerful. The most important thing is that it is convenient. With a thought, the battle suit disappears directly, returns to the light ring, and then moves again, and quickly reappears on the body, which only takes 2 or 3 seconds. Let's go. After saying something calmly, Su Zhan walked towards the laboratory. Shinharan followed closely, curious and nervous, not knowing what could make him stronger here. As soon as I arrived at the door of the laboratory, before I could go in, a bunch of burly men with guns swarmed out of the room. Shinharan was a little nervous, but looked at the calm Su Zhan and breathed a sigh of relief. With the boss here, what should he be afraid of? The sound of high-heeled shoes clicked, and a woman in a floral skirt walked out gracefully. She looked at Su Zhan and gently touched her palms and said, "I didn't expect to see you here." That she stared at Su Zhan and Shinharan next to her. Although she looked confident, she was actually a little nervous. She knew very well who the person in front of her was, Su Zhan, a person who had recently become famous. He had the ability to devour and could perfectly fuse with the extremist virus. In fact, she had always wanted to contact and even capture Su Zhan so that she could study out how he could fuse with it. The reason for the extremist virus is just that. Su Zhan was too strong and never had the chance to take action, but she didn't expect that Su Zhan would come to her door, and it seems like he already knows where this place is. It seems the rumors are true, he seems to have the ability to predict the future. Did you accidentally see me, or did you accidentally see Shinharan? If I hadn't interfered, I'm afraid Shinharan would have been coaxed here by you to study him, right? Lena. Su Zhan looked at her and calmly said, Reina smiled, actually, I'm even more surprised by your outfit, it's very special. Thank you. Su Zhan smiled. We can cooperate. I know you are a consultant for S.H.I.E.L.D., but you are not from S.H.I.E.L.D. And I heard that you have started to work on your own. If we can cooperate, I believe we can have better development, no? Reina said with a smile. Su Zhan shook his head. There is no need to cooperate, because I have a better proposal. What proposal? Incorporate you. After Su Zhan finished speaking, the telepathy attack was launched instantly. In an instant, the people around him were unable to move. The guns in their hands came out one after another and were neatly put aside. Where is the extremist virus? Su Zhan asked the panicked Reina. Reina hesitated, but her body lifted up involuntarily, and it became difficult to breathe in an instant. I know you are a smart and capable person. In fact, I am very optimistic about you. You don't have any superpowers, but you can do things that many people can't do. So, I don't want to kill you. Su Zhan said calmly. Reina couldn't move and could only barely blink her eyes. Then she felt a lightness in her body, rubbed her neck and breathed heavily for a moment, and then led Su Zhan into the laboratory. The laboratory was a busy scene, with all kinds of machines and researchers in white coats, giving Su Zhan an unfamiliar feeling. Su Zhan is really not good at scientific research. Chapter 48. You are listening at NovelFull.audio. Reina gave an order and quickly brought the extremist virus. Inject him. Su Zhan pointed at Shinharan. Shinharan was stunned for a moment, a little worried. If you want to become stronger, take injections. Su Zhan looked at him and said calmly. Shinharan gritted his teeth and nodded. Reina said unexpectedly, to him? Is there a problem? Su Zhan asked, raising his eyebrows. Reina shook her head. No, it's just that the virus is not stable and there are still certain risks. If you don't even dare to take risks, then you still want to become stronger? Su Zhan said calmly. All right, Su Zhan said this, and Chenharan also agreed. What else could Reina say? The reason why she reminded him was because she didn't want Su Zhan to feel that she had lied to him, and that she would be blamed for anything that happened. Soon, the desperate virus was injected into Chenharan's body. Chenharan's expression became a little ferocious and painful, and his body was shaking constantly. Reina and the scientific researchers next to her looked at him nervously, but Su Zhan was the only one who was very calm. Chenharan's platelets are very special, so there is no danger in injecting the extremis virus. Looking around, Su Zhan thought about how to incorporate them. Although these scientific researchers are not good people, and they are not very humane, they have to be said to still have a certain value. When the time comes, letting them study our potion or other things will be of great help. If we can control a stable production line, it will be of great benefit to both the main world of Marvel and other dungeon planes. Chapter 0062 Incorporation. Ha, ha, ha. Chenharan was breathing heavily, sweating profusely, but he was smiling. He could feel the powerful power contained in his body, which he had never felt before. He stood up with his legs in hand, and a large ball of flame suddenly shot out, becoming at least dozens of times stronger than before. Try it and see how it works. Su Zhan said calmly. Chenharan nodded excitedly and suddenly waved his hand in the distance. The fireball shot out instantly and hit the wall directly. In an instant, rubble was scattered. Too strong. Chenharan said excitedly. It's not bad. Compared to Chenharan's excitement, Su Zhan was very dull. You have to remember that you are only as strong as yourself. Compared with others, you are still far behind. Yes, boss. Chenharan felt as if a basin of cold water had been poured on him. The excitement generated by becoming stronger and the rapidly expanding confidence were extinguished in an instant. Seeing Chenharan calm down, Su Zhan didn't remind him too much. People always tend to swell when they gain great power, and Chenharan is actually someone who has never seen the market. If he is not allowed to stay calm and see himself clearly, he will easily swell because of this. Why? Reina looked at Chenharan in disbelief. Why could he also integrate the extremis virus? Want to know? As long as you follow me, I will tell you the reason. Su Zhan said calmly. This is impossible. Reina shook her head and said. Because of the clairvoyance. I know you are a subordinate of the clairvoyant. Do you think the clairvoyant knows everything and is omnipotent? This is just a scam. Su Zhan said sarcastically. He is just an ordinary person, and you are also an ordinary person. But I can make you extraordinary. I do not believe. Lena still shook her head. No, you believe it, but you are just deceiving yourself. Anyway, you will always doubt it unless you see it with your own eyes. I will give you time and a chance. I hope you can make the right decision when you see the clairvoyant. As for the people and equipment here belong to me, I think. You don't have any objections, right? It's useless even if you have it, right? Reina said. That's right. Su Zhan smiled, turned to Chenharan and said, contact Flicker and ask her to come and take these people away and take them to the spaceship to settle down first. Yes, Chenharan is now devoted to Su Zhan because he can help him become stronger, and he really did it. Can I go now? Lena asked in a low voice. Certainly. Su Zhan smiled. He admired Reina's ability very much. If possible, it would be best to take it for his own use. But Reina is a smart woman, and the smarter a person is, the harder it is to conquer her. Although the scientific researchers around him were reluctant, they were very smart. Knowing that Reina did not dare to refuse, they knew how strong Su Zhan was. What's more, Su Zhan took them away instead of killing them. Obviously, he still wanted them to do research. This is their only value, so they are not too afraid. After looting the entire research room and teleporting away the people and equipment, Su Zhan did not go back with him, but flew directly to find Sky and temporarily return to the team. You can leave other trivial matters to Flash and the others. You can take advantage of this time to absorb more energy from ether particles, and by the way, you can also study the crystal that can absorb fear. Just before they landed near the base, Su-Jean saw the plane take off slowly, as if it was about to go on a mission. Su-Jean stopped and flew to the front of the plane and waved to Mei in the cab. Mei was a little surprised. This was the first time she saw Su-Jean in this style. She nodded and pointed to the back. Then, the door of the plane slowly opened. Su-Jean turned around and flew directly over, then entered the plane. As soon as they entered, they saw Sky, Simmons, Coulson and others coming out. The cabin door slowly closed, and Sky had already rushed towards Su-Jean, with the beauty in his arms. Su-Jean smiled, hugged Sky and nodded to the others. After a moment, Sky left his arms. "You're back. Are you here to sell fakes?" Coulson walked to Su-Jean and asked. "So be it." Su-Jean smiled. "Sky, do you mind if I borrow your boyfriend for a while?" "Yeah." Sky nodded. Su-Jean followed Coulson to his office. When passing by Simmons, Su-Jean smiled and whispered, "I'll go find you later and bring you something good." "Really? What is it?" Simmons asked unexpectedly. "You'll know in a minute." In Coulson's office, after the two sat down, Coulson said with a smile, "I heard that your vacation was very rich and exciting, and you even brought back an alien spaceship. How about taking me to see it sometime? I've always been interested in alien spacecraft." Chapter 49. You are listening at NovelFull.audio. Of course it's no problem if you want to visit. Su-Jean said with a smile. I heard that director, Tony, was rejected by you. I didn't expect that I have such a big reputation. Coulson said with a smile. They are them, and you are you. Su-Jean said with a smile. This is really my honor. Coulson smiled happily and asked, so, this spaceship is related to saving the world you mentioned? The space in London seemed to be very unstable some time ago. Eric Shavig the doctor specializes in astronomy, but he didn't draw any conclusions, and then the instability in space seemed to disappear. To put it simply, if the person inside this spaceship was not me when it appeared on Earth, then you might not have the chance to sit here so leisurely now. Su-Jean said with a smile. Coulson nodded, I understand. I met Thor this time and stayed in Asgard for a while. It's really beautiful there. You should go and see it if you have the chance. Hopefully. What did you mean when you said before that shield is not the shield I imagined? This question is what Coulson wants to ask and cares about the most. Su-Jean said something like this in a confused way when he left. Coulson has been thinking about what it was, but unfortunately he still has no clue. Chapter 0063 A Gift for Simmons. You know that I formed my own team, right? Su-Jean didn't answer, but asked suddenly. Coulson nodded. It's a war alliance, and it's planning to use the West Coast Island as a base. Is this your uniform? Very cool. Coulson said while looking at Su-Jean's clothes. Su-Jean smiled and put away the uniform with a thought. Only then did Coulson notice the special ring on Su-Jean's hand. Just when he was about to ask, Su-Jean said, even if I tell you some things, you can't do anything about them. I can only say that you are welcome after they happen. Come to me. Sounds like it's something that has a big impact. Coulson frowned. Su-Jean chuckled and shook his head. You will know when the time comes. If there is nothing else, I will go out. Coulson wanted to find out more, but he knew Su-Jean wouldn't tell. Although Su-Jean still belongs to this team in name, it is actually just a cooperative relationship. After coming out of the office, Su-Jean went to Sky's place first and chatted with her for a while. Sky missed him and he missed Sky too. After staying with Sky for a while, Su-Jean went to the laboratory downstairs. Simmons and Fitz are both here. Seeing Su-Jean coming, the two stopped what they were doing to say hello to Su-Jean. Simmons even asked directly, you said you had something for me. What is it? What do you think? Su-Jean said with a smile. Simmons thought for a moment and said, is it some kind of gift, or is it your blood? I never said that someone gave their own blood as a gift, let alone, don't forget our agreement. Su-Jean said with a smile. Simmons' face turned red slightly, and asked in a low voice, "So what? What is it? I'm not kidding you anymore." Su-Jean smiled, put his hand behind his back, then directly extracted a bottle of ordinary supernatural potion from the system space, and handed it to Simmons. Simmons looked at the light blue potion curiously and asked doubtfully, "What is this?" "A superpower potion, similar to the Extremis virus, but far less effective than the Extremis virus. It's just very stable and has no side effects," Su-Jean explained. "Really?" Simmons said in surprise. "Although it is not as good as the Extremis virus, the word stability is very important. It is very difficult to achieve stability for any kind of medicine, especially medicines like serum and viruses." "Of course it's true. What we know so far can probably produce one of several kinds of powers. It may be tracking ability, or it may be sound waves, or even mind control, mental control, or predicting the future. My ability is to swallow it comes from a person with superpowers who can predict the future. This bottle of potion is given to you. You can take it yourself or use it for research. However, I hope you can study it because I still have a bottle in my hand that is considered evolved potion, but the situation is not stable. Simmons is a very powerful biologist, and her research in this area is very good, so Su-Jean hopes that she can study ordinary potions first, and then give R to her after she has a certain understanding. Can she solve this problem? Su-Jean doesn't know the effect of R yet, but he knows that it is not stable. The movie says that only Kira can take it without incident, and if other superpowers use it, it will be extremely poisonous. Of course, Su-Jean believes this. It has no effect on me, but now I only have this bottle. It would be great if I could figure out how to prepare it and eliminate this hidden danger. Okay, I will study it as soon as possible. Simmons nodded, and then quickly took out the equipment and looked like he was about to start. Su-Jean shook his head with a dumb smile, turned and left. Back in his room, Su-Jean fumbled with the ether lamp ring and began to absorb ether particles. With the lamp ring as a container and containment, Su-Jean absorbed the energy much faster, and also reduced many disadvantages. He could feel that there was already a small part of the energy breath of ether particles in his body. Maybe it has no use or power yet, but as long as it is completely absorbed and the ether particles become part of one's body, it will be completely different. The most important thing is that if he completely absorbs the ether particles, he can also absorb other infinite gems with confidence. Because they have the same origin, they will not attack each other when they are together. Coupled with the stability of his body, you can definitely integrate all the infinity stones into yourself. This is much better than Thanos borrowing the infinity gauntlet. Ding! The energy required for upgrade is full, and the system is being upgraded. Su-Jean, who was absorbing ether particles, suddenly heard the system prompt, "Upgraded. I have completed 3 tasks and devoured 3 powers." In addition to absorbing the energy generated by ether particles, the energy generated is almost enough for system upgrades. The most important of them should be the rewards from the mission and the energy of the ether particles. Ether particles are such a powerful thing, so they only absorb a little bit, which can even be said to be negligible, but the energy required to generate the system itself should be quite a lot. He didn't know how long it would take to upgrade, so Su-Jean didn't pay much attention and continued to absorb the ether particles. I don't know how long it took, but Su-Jean suddenly heard May's voice, and the plane seemed to be preparing to land. I forgot to ask what the mission was this time. Su-Jean muttered, stopped absorbing, and walked out of the room. Chapter 0064 Do you know Hydra? When Su-Jean came out and saw that everyone had gathered, he originally wanted to ask casually what the mission was, but after thinking about it, it was unnecessary. He would know it after a while. The group of people got into the off-road vehicle, got out of the plane, and headed to their destination. When they arrived at the place, Su-Jean knew what the mission was as soon as he saw the situation. There are tents and a red jeep on 2 sides, and there is a campfire and some camping things in the middle. As I walked over, someone introduced me to the situation. It was said that a group of people were camping here. A man named Adam Cross heard something moving around him and went to check. As a result, he died. There were obvious signs of scorching on the surrounding trees. As they walked and analyzed, they soon saw the corpse. A corpse suspended in midair. Seeing this corpse, everyone was stunned. The situation was so weird. After being stunned for a moment, Simmons was ready to go over and inspect the body. Etc. Su Jean suddenly pulled Simmons' arm, and Simmons was stunned for a moment. "What's wrong?" "Save you," Su Jean said lightly, and seeing everyone else looking at him, he said slowly, "There is a virus on this thing, and you will be infected as long as you come into contact with it. So, Simmons, if you want to get it checked, it's better to make some preparations." After saying that, Su Jean directly wrapped the body with telekinesis and slowly lowered it. Chapter 50. You are listening at NovelFull.audio. I'll send it to the airplane's laboratory first. With that said, Su Jean controlled the body and turned around to leave. "It seems he knows something," Coulson said lightly, and then ordered others to investigate the scene. Back on the plane, Su Jean put the body away, but the protective shield of telepathy was not removed. If I remember correctly, he was infected by a virus on the helmet of the Chitauri, the alien army that invaded during the Battle of New York. The helmet contained a virus, but the antidote can also be found. Su Jean, after thinking for a while, he asked the system, "Does that helmet have any use?" "No," the system gave a straightforward answer. Su Jean curled his lips. He also guessed that it was of no use. In that case, he was too lazy to intervene. After a while, Coulson and others came back, and just as they were about to ask, Su Jean said directly, "This person has been infected by an alien virus. It should be a Chitauri helmet. One of them must have this, and more than one. If a person is poisoned, an antidote can be developed by finding the helmet. That's all I know, and I'll leave the details to you. How about you?" "Me? I have other things to do, just stay on the plane." The helmet was of no use, and since he had provided the information, Su Jean was too lazy to intervene. If he had time, he might as well absorb the ether particles as soon as possible, or study fear crystals. Seeing that Su Jean had no intention of participating, Coulson couldn't say anything else. After all, the information he provided was already very important. Su Jean turned back to the room and continued to swallow ether particles. While Su Jean was devouring ether particles, Coulson and others quickly found out the identity of the deceased named Adam through the information provided by Su Jean, and then followed the clues to find the alien helmet. It turns out that a fire brigade contracted the virus while wiping the alien helmet. After bringing the helmet back, Simmons and Fitz quickly developed the antidote. It was not smooth at first, but gradually compared and tried, they finally developed the antidote and gave it to those infected by the alien virus in time. People detoxify. The mission was completed and everyone was about to send the helmet away for safekeeping. Everyone breathed a sigh of relief and couldn't help but sigh again at Su Jean's ability to predict the future. If not, he already knew, maybe Simmons would be infected, and those infected with the virus might die from it. The most important thing is, if Su Jean hadn't said the detoxification method, even Simmons might have died. Although none of these things happened, Simmons' gratitude to Su Jean became even stronger. Upgrade completed. Su Jean was devouring etheric particles selflessly when he suddenly heard the sound of the system. "The upgrade is complete, what changes have occurred?" Su Jean asked hurriedly. "The dungeon retention time is increased to 7 days, the dungeon task refresh time is shortened to 15 days, and the third dungeon plane is opened." Listening to the system's answer, Su Xing couldn't help but wave his fist excitedly. "I didn't expect this upgrade to be so powerful. The retention time has changed from 3 days to 7 days, and the refresh time has also been reduced by half. You can enter the dungeon once in 15 days, which is amazing. However, the best thing is still open the third dungeon plane." Su Jean became more and more excited as he thought about it. He didn't expect that the third plane would be opened so soon. In this way, you will have more room for maneuver in choosing your own plane. "What are you so happy about?" At the door, Sky suddenly walked over, looked at Su Jean who was smiling from ear to ear, and asked curiously, Sujan shook his head and stretched out his hand. Sky grabbed his hand and held it tightly in his arms, sitting down on his lap. The development has been going very smoothly recently. We have a spaceship, a base, and a few subordinates who are pretty good. We should be able to build a large scale soon. Can I help you with anything? Of course Sky is also happy that Sujan is developing so well, so she hopes to be able to help in some way. Sujan thought for a while and said, not yet, but I hope you can have a good relationship with the people here. S.H.I.E.L.D. won't be able to hold on for long. It would be best if we can win them over by then. I understand. Sky nodded and asked curiously, but, what happened to S.H.I.E.L.D.? Do you know about Hydra? Sky nodded and said, of course I know, but didn't you say that Hydra has been destroyed long ago? If you cut off one head, 2 more will grow. If Hydra was so easy to be destroyed, it would no longer be Hydra. They were only destroyed on the surface. In fact, they had already infiltrated S.H.I.E.L.D. internally. S.H.I.E.L.D. is no longer just S.H.I.E.L.D. Sujan said slowly. Sky's eyes widened. This news shocked her. Don't think too much, you should believe me. Even if something happens, I will still be here. Well, of course I believe you. Sky nodded vigorously. Chapter 0065 Legs Playing with the New Year. As night falls, everyone has gone to bed, but the lights were still on in the laboratory. Simmons, wearing a white coat and glasses, was studying supernatural potions on precise instruments. As a biologist, although she is not an expert in genetics and does not have high hopes for superpowers, she is very interested in studying how this potion produces superpowers. Her expression was focused and engaged, and she didn't notice Sujan walking in at all. Sujan did not disturb her, but stood quietly and watched. Simmons has a good figure and beautiful facial features. Perhaps because of her personality and professional reasons, she rarely dresses up. Under her loose white coat, her straight legs are exposed, and they are white and unparalleled. Sujan's mouth corners are slightly raised. Starting from the beginning, he still remembered that he told Simmons that her legs were very beautiful, and asked her to wear less long legs and more skirts or shorts. It seemed that she listened, and she changed them specially. When she was on a mission during the day, she was still wearing denim trousers. Ah! Simmons happened to look up at this time and was startled when he saw Sujan suddenly appeared, and then said unexpectedly, "Why are you here?" Sujan walked over with a smile and said, "I brought a gift to someone, but no one seemed to return the gift, so I came here to see if someone had forgotten it." Simmons blushed slightly and said, "If I understand this superpower potion, wouldn't it be the best gift in return?" "That's true, but who knows how long it will take. How about, some interest first? For example, how about, taking off the white coat outside? Didn't you go out of your way to not wear trousers just for me?" Now they were all blocked by white coats. What a pity. Sujan said with a smile. Simmons didn't expect Sujan to notice this, so he hesitated and took off his white coat. Simple t-shirt, denim shorts, she looks youthful, and the most important thing is that her long legs are fully exposed. Gorgeous. Sujan stared with scorching eyes, which made Simmons a little anxious. Have you ever heard of a word called legwanyen? Sujan asked Simmons with a smile. Simmons shook his head in confusion. I haven't heard of it. What do you mean? Sujan pointed to her legs and said, "It means that these legs alone are enough for me to play with for a year." It sounds a bit tacky, but there is absolutely no derogatory meaning. I just want to say that your legs are indeed beautiful. Really? Simmons didn't believe it. She didn't feel this way herself, and she never heard anyone praise her legs. Of course it's true. It's beautiful and pleasing to the eye. I really hope I can watch it for a lifetime. Sujan paused and smiled. If S.H.I.E.L.D. is finished, do you want to join me and follow me? I also have my own experiments. There is a room, but there is no one you can trust to manage it. If you can come, I will leave it to you. How could S.H.I.E.L.D. be finished? Simmons never thought of this possibility at all.